Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ybot, and this is going to be a little bit of a ranty video here about my feelings on World of Warcraft, Warlords of Draenor, etc. But first, a small housekeeping note here. Well, not really housekeeping at all. It's a great big thank you. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. I've managed to reach over 100 subs. So that is greatly appreciated. I know it's not huge in the YouTube world. I've seen people with hundreds of thousands of subs, sometimes millions, but I mean, it's a great little start. My channel is growing, and I'm very appreciative of that. So it's, you guys who are subscribing, you're helping my hobby. Maybe someday it'll be, my hobby will be self-sufficient. Maybe someday I'll be able to make a living off of it. But yeah, for now, thank you for that. Thank you very much. And we will continue on here. So let's jump right into the rant here. Now, I tried in a previous take doing this, fighting some guys, and that didn't work too well. Actually, I'm going to take the screen thing off here and just take a look at what we got here. Cool. So we got little bleeding Hallow dudes just chilling around the starting area of the Dark Portal. That's pretty cool. I'm glad they populated things in there. You guys should also check out my other video where I explored Shatrath before it fell. They populated that with friendly Draenor NPCs. That was kind of cool. If you want to see that, I was kind of like gushing over the facts. It's like, oh my god, it's Shatrath in its prime, which is pretty cool. So anyway, I will try to get back on topic. I am notorious for getting off topic and also forgetting timers. So, let's see here. So why I'm struggling to stay interested in World of Warcraft. Well, for starters, they promised us a whole hell of a lot with Warlords of Draenor. They promised to make Warcraft epic again, which, in the beginning, they certainly achieved that. They did not lie. They totally accomplished it. Warlords of Draenor was epic. I mean, we came through the Dark Portal. Most of our forces got murdered on the suicide mission, and then at the very end, we came here and we fucking blew up the Dark Portal with a tank. After freeing Gul'dan, Tarangor, and Cho'Gall in the process. In order to do it, we made a deal with the devil to secure the safety of Azeroth, and in the process really fucked over Draenor, and we've spent most of the expansion actually cleaning up what we have done. So that's pretty cool. Now, and also the thing specifically that Blizzard was promising is that they would make us love, that we would love WoW again. They would make WoW great again with this expansion. And in the beginning, they succeeded, once again. But as time went on, the initial content lost its shine, and then all of a sudden, we get to a point here where it's like, there's no new content. And no, the Blackrock Foundry did not count as new content. It was in the beta. So that is just something they held out for us so we wouldn't just blow through all the raid content on launch. Anyways. The other thing that's concerning to me is the yearly expansion cycle. Initially, I thought this was the greatest thing ever. I was like, yeah, you know what? Go for it. WoW's getting older. This will mean more content. You're doubling the amount of people that are in the crew. So, you know what? I'll trade off having to pay for an expansion every year if this means that I'll get new content every 4 months or so. That did not happen. We got our first content patch, and by first content patch, I mean we got Hellfire, because once again, the Blackrock Foundry does not count. They may have thrown it into a content patch, but it was ready to go once when Warlords launched. They just held it back. So at month number 7, so from November to June 15th, or June 2015 rather, That's when we got Hellfire right here. And that pretty much was it. So that's one of the big problems I have, because we're likely not getting anything until September, unless some of us are lucky enough to get into the beta for Legion. Which is, by the way, at the moment, still in alpha, so probably not going to happen. And yeah, it's scheduled to launch in September, which it's going to come almost 2 years after the launch of this expansion. So this expansion actually is the expansion with the least amount of content ever in WoW expansion, I would believe, because we, well, normally we have 3 tiers of, normally we have 4 tiers of rating. This time we only have 3. So I guess it's not terrible, but, like, I still feel kind of gypped. And definitely raid dungeon count-wise and boss count-wise, we're getting screwed compared to Cataclysm, compared to Wrath of the Lich King, and also the Burning Crusade as well. Now on to Warlords itself. Well, let's start off with the thing that everybody seems to hate here. Garrisons. So, contrary to the prevailing opinion of, like, everybody, I actually like garrisons. I like a little place to call home. I'm just flying over the Lunarfall area, the Alliance garrison, which never actually gets properly implemented for the Horde side, and vice versa for the Alliance side. It's just like a forested area. But anyway, I like my garrison. I like a little place to call home. I like a place, I like the fact that we're finally given people. We're finally given command of people. And I think they fucked up the implementation, but I'm a fan of the general concept. In fact, I was hoping that in the subsequent expansions we might get like a garrison that's on the coast with a shipyard, but a ship that we can control and drive around, or possibly just have a ship itself. Maybe you get the South Seas expansion, maybe you get an expansion where we face off against Jara, and we get to maybe upgrade our ship. I was actually not hoping for Legion, because Legion kind of... I don't see where they can go there in terms of the lore from there, besides just going into the Nether and taking the fight to Sargeras and kill Jaden if we don't kill them in this expansion. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm off topic again. The thing I do not like about my garrison is the massive, massive cockblocks that surround crafting. We were given every recipe up front. They may have taken a long time to get. That I'm okay with. I have no problem with the recipes taking forever to get, but what I do have a problem with is the fact that the bloody reagents for the recipes, they take forever. It drives me bananas. Now, I suppose I shouldn't complain too much, because this is how I'm paying for my WoW sub right now, is the widely available upgradable loot that we get. But, and that's great for some expansions, like blacksmithing and possibly inscribing have never had it better, in my opinion. However, enchanting has got screwed. Enchanting has got royally screwed. You were making like mad amounts of money at the beginning with enchanting, and now you're making very little to none. Like, the crystals are selling for next to nothing. And also the base reagents, the base materials for crafting have also plummeted because of the mines, which, I don't know. That one's a tough one for me, because I love the fact that we have mines, but honestly, I find going through the mine and mining things each day incredibly tedious and terrible. So that's something I despise. I wish that we were just able to, like... and you guys are probably going to hate me for this, but I would just wish we could loot a crate, and that would be it. I wish we could just, like, get our resources from a crate, have someone do that for us, but have a set amount that comes from the mines, and that's it. And then if we want to get any more, we have to go mine it ourselves, which is kind of the way things are right now, but I don't know. I agree with, I can see people's point of view that the mines are kind of a bit of a disaster in terms of killing the crafting professions, and indeed a lot of people have abandoned their crafting professions. Anyway, let's take a look at my notes on professions. Let's see if I've missed anything here. No, I have not. I've covered all professions here. Alright, so while I'm here over Karabor, let's talk a bit about Karabor here. This was supposed to be the Alliance capital once upon a time here. That's what was promised to us back at BlizzCon. Back when they first launched or announced Warlords of Draenor. We were going to get this city as the capital for the Alliance, which is pretty friggin' epic. We're getting the Black Temple as the capital for the Alliance, and to balance things out, to make sure the Alliance didn't get something that was too cool, they were going to give the Horde a fortress that you actually took from the Ogres, which are... I mean, it's a great big tower in the middle of Frostfire Ridge, but pretty cool. I mean, the idea that you're actually, like, capturing your capital, that seems very much in line with the Horde, of like, we're going to take what is ours. Or we're going to take our enemy's capital and use it against them. So that seemed pretty badass, but what they ended up doing is they ended up giving us Storm Shield and War Spear. Mostly, in what I believe about that, is they mostly did that just to promote Ashran as much as possible. It's like, look, Ashran's right next to your capital. Don't you want to go in and PvP? Please PvP. It'll keep you playing. You'll enjoy it. Honestly, you will. It's... yeah. There's a reason why so many companies try to get people to play with your friends and PvP and whatnot, folks. It's easy content. People make their own fun. You just have to do something and people will play through it 1,000,000 times before they get bored, which, well, to be fair, we played through the Tanan jungle quests 1,000,000 times, and most likely we're bored out of our fucking minds. I know I'm bored with the LFR and the Tanan jungle quests at this point. Like, I got bored of them before I finished the Legendary Ring quest line. I'm probably going to try to push through it on my Death Knight and also on my Paladin, but it's probably going to be about it. So, anyway here, I suppose I should get back into the lore situation here. So, first and foremost, the lore of Warlords of Draenor is an absolute mess, initially, and we knew this, and I was willing to suspend my disbelief because I saw what they were trying to do with the expansion. I thought it was a really cool idea. We're going to face the Horde in its prime, and we're going to see what happened if they never drank the Fellblood in the first place. So, the lore itself is actually fairly friggin' decent. They come up with a lot of new, they flush out the backstories of a lot of characters from the old World of Warcraft stuff. If you can get over the weird time-traveling multiverse stuff, then it's pretty cool. Which, what I mean by multiverse is it's an alternate reality. This is an alternate reality 30 years in the past. That's what we've got. I believe it was 35 years ago that Garrosh came back. He built up, he got the clans to unite, he built up the Iron Horde, and managed to link up their dark portal with ours, and that's how this all started. And the lore, kind of, if you are willing to admit that once again, omit the problems there, rather, is actually pretty good until you get to Talador, and then things feel kind of wonky. So, what I mean by that is that we are done dealing with Shattrath. We're dealing with Shattrath like halfway through, which kind of doesn't seem all that right. I feel like I'm not sure how they figured Arkham would play into this, but I would have thought that the Iron Horde invasion of Shattrath would be the climactic ending to this zone rather than the defense of Occamdune. Because, like, Occamdune's a giant frickin' crypt. I mean, you definitely want to protect the souls of the Draenor from the Burning Legion, but at the end of the day, we're protecting a bunch of Draenor corpses from the Burning Legion, as opposed to the living citizens of Shattrath. Now, what I think they intended to do initially, and I think they definitely did like a complete 180 with the story direction of this, I think they planned on acknowledging the fact that Gul'dan was there, and Gul'dan is... he's kind of plotting in the background, trying to get the Horde on side with the Burning Legion, and he's not doing as well as he was doing last time. So what I think they were going to do is that the Shadow Council is going to be always present, but they weren't going to be the biggest threat. Indeed, I expect that they were going to have that zone, you know, the one that's where Netherstorm would have been. That should have been just northeast of Gorgron. I believe it's called Feralus. I believe that on Feralus, originally they were planning on having a raid for the Shadow Council. They're planning on just being like, okay, we're going to deal with the Shadow Council. Like, the Shadow Council will do something big and terrible, and then in that area, we would at least try to deal with Gul'dan. We may or may not kill him, but we would deal with and we would kill Cho'Gall and Terrangor / Gorefiend and everybody else, possibly Kargath. Who knows? Maybe Kargath would jump on the Felhorde bandwagon instead and betray the Iron Horde. Who knows? But yeah, they seemed to kind of like, once we got to Talador, things just kind of like, yeah, you know what? The defense of Shattrath is not that important at all. We're going to focus on the fact that, plot twist, the Burning Legion's here. They're invading this world. That's a great big fucking deal. It's like, okay, sure. So, yeah, and also I think that it may have been done like midway through Mists of Pandaria, and they were starting to panic, so they decided to like shuffle around expansions, and they're like, we need to tie in Legion somehow. It's like, we're going to be doing Legion now instead of something else. We need to tie it in somehow. So I feel like that's what happened, and as a result, Talador was gutted in terms of questing and refocused on the Burning Legion. And yeah. But this could just be a tinfoil hat theory. Who knows? Let's see what else we've got here. Yeah, I already went over the Shadow Council. I expected that in the original design that 6.3 would have been a Shadow Council raid on Fairland, and we would have gotten a zone to play around with as well. It's being corrupted by the Burning Legion instead of Tanan Jungle, and in the end, Tanan Jungle would have been the uncorrupted last bastion of the Iron Horde. Once we deal with the Shadow Council, we would go ahead and we would kick the living piss out of what's left of the Iron Horde. Yeah. Let's see, what else do we have here? So, yeah, the other thing that I really kind of think is messy is the fact that they are using this expansion as foreshadowing Legion. This is 30 years in the past on another world in a different reality, and they're trying to foreshadow that the Legion is coming, to invade Azeroth. It's like, yeah. From the lore itself in this expansion, we're not even sure that it's the same fucking Burning Legion. It could be completely different. Could be just another universe, an alternate universe entirely, where the Burning Legion... Who knows? Maybe they already took over the Azeroth in this time period. Who knows? But, anyway, that's neither here nor there. Well, it's completely here nor there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. An Archimond. So, yeah, with that in mind, then killing Archimond would make complete sense in this one, but Blizzard has told us that this is all one reality, or it's one Legion, rather. One Legion for all realities. So, I guess the Twisting Nether links up to all various realities here. And what happened with Mr. Archimond there is that originally, when all the wisps exploded and set him on fire and he burned down Mount Hyjal, that didn't kill him, which... You know what? Okay. Excuse me. They're talking about you can only truly kill super powerful demons in the Twisting Nether. That's okay. Now, what I have a problem with is that they're saying that maybe we actually killed him this time because on Mythic we managed to go ahead and get into the Nether with him. And that's because he sent us there. Now, I haven't seen this because I never touched Mythic, so I'm going to have to take a look at some videos on YouTube myself of him taking the raid into the Nether, and I'm not sure why he did it. It's kind of like the stupidest possible thing he could do, and Lord of the Burning Legion should really fucking know better. But, yeah, I'll have to take a look at that, but the... Definitely the ending cinematic is identical regardless of what you do. So the end cinematic still has him... Basically his avatar dies on Draenor, the light goes out of his eyes, and then it's like, okay, fine. His spirit's gone back to the Twisting Nether, he's fine, he's still around. So, yeah. I don't think Archimond is actually dead, but I'm kind of pissed at them for putting that into Mythic only there. That only in Mythic would he send you to the Twisting Nether with him, and you'll be able to kill him for good there. That's a bit of a dick move. Oh, the other dick move here is Cho'Gall. Yeah, they did the same thing with Cho'Gall. Cho'Gall is actually dead, guys. For those of you who are not Mythic level players, Cho'Gall dies in the final boss encounter. He actually kills the Imperator Martok, I believe. And then you're fighting him for the last little bit of, I guess, phase 4 of that fight. And, yeah, and then Cho'Gall goes down. So, that definitely does not happen on any other difficulty setting, like LFR or anything like that. They really need to get back to the thing of just giving them extra bosses, like giving them Algalon rather than giving them special little mechanics at the end of the fight. Well, actually no, special mechanics is fine for Mythic, but huge lore stuff, that's a problem. Massive things with regards to lore is a huge big problem, because most of your player base doesn't see it and doesn't know what's going on, which I suppose that was the case back before we had LFR, but that's kind of different, quite frankly. It's, before we had LFR, it was a lot more acceptable. Now that everybody's raiding, like, and maybe it would be okay, because LFR is a bit of a, is the lowest tier of raid, but definitely heroic, and preferably normal as well, needs to have this stuff in there so that people can see what's going on, and just add in additional mechanics. Add in like additional less important bosses, like what's her name there? Deathwing's bride. I believe it's Sinestra as Deathwing's bride, or Deathwing's mate. That was kind of okay, although that's a little bit suspect as well because she is actually she's actually a fairly important character. Well, actually, she's a minor character, but she's still fairly important. I mean, this is Deathwing's mate. And she had a role in the Burning Crusade, and then she's finally a boss in the first dungeon, the Bastion of Twilight, back in Cataclysm. But anyway, here, I'm going to try to get back on track here. Basically, I wish they would just stop putting lore heavyweights into, or lore heavyweight consequences into Mythic only, because it confuses the player base like crazy. Especially the way they handled Archimonde here. Now, let's move on here. Let's move on to what I wish they would have done with Warlords here. So, first off, I, like a bunch of other people, opposite to a bunch of other people, rather, I actually enjoy the fantasy of being the commander. I'm willing to put that aside. I wish that they had maybe allowed for multiple garrison sites, and maybe that I'm just the commander of a certain garrison, and that the Alliance and Horde has several garrisons. Maybe make it a bit more believable that it's not a case of, like, I'm the chosen one, I'm the only person who can stop the Iron Horde, because that seems a little ridiculous, but definitely making it so that we've finally gotten to the point of, like, we've earned enough of a reputation for ourselves that we can get followers, we can get people to do our bitch work. That I enjoy a great deal. So, first thing I wish they would have done is they would have maybe expanded upon the bodyguard mechanic a little bit. Maybe followed a bit of what they did in, or what EA did, and yeah, the great evil EA, and my goodness, I can't even remember the name of the people who develop Old Republic, but yeah, what they did in Old Republic is they had followers, and these followers had their own specific equipment. You get to equip them and all that, and they follow you around, and these guys are actually really well fleshed out. They are to the point of you can even sub them in for someone who drops out of a dungeon, or I'm not sure about a raid for them, but definitely if you drop out of a dungeon, say you lose your healer or your tank, you can have one of these followers pop in and sub as a person for a while. Now, they're not as good as a player, but I mean, they're better than nothing. So, yeah, that's kind of cool.
That's still recharging. That spell isn't ready yet.
But
I can't do that.
that didn't happen either.
I can't attack.
Let's go over some more of the specifics here of what I thought here. So, yeah, and I would like them to actually, like, take that idea and just run wild with it. I would have liked them to actually expand upon it and make it so that we could say, basically we could multi-box things. Like, kind of put in a form of multi-boxing into the game where we control our followers and we take them on a dungeon run or a raid. So, you know, they could kind of repurpose old content that way and make it so that we're going on a mission to say, the Grimrail Depot or something. Or we're going on a mission to sack Highmall, to conquer Highmall. Or to conquer the Blackrock Foundry. And that would be kind of cool. They could turn it into a scenario or something. And or they could use the scenario system. And I think that would be pretty cool. That would have been a decent idea. I think. maybe you guys think it would be terrible. Let me know in the comments section below, and we'll see. But yeah, if we had been able to like actually act as the commander as opposed to just sending followers out to do shit, I think that would have been a lot more gratifying, and I think people might have gotten behind the idea of being the commander a bit more. But unfortunately, that's not really going to happen in Legion for sure, for damn sure. They've knee-jerk reactioned in the opposite direction with a lot of this stuff in Legion, which is good. But we still have followers and we still have missions, which is... I'm not sure how I feel about that. I get the feeling that the bodyguard system is gone, which is a damn shame because I enjoy the bodyguard system immensely.
Many
I love...
leagues of deadly land yet stand between us
Really?
and Blackrock.
Really? Wow. I didn't realize that we could trigger that dialogue as the Horde. Anyway, yeah. I wish that we'd finally get more people to do the bitch work, like collect stuff and all that other stuff. And also we'd be able to command our followers in a battle. That would have been very cool. But unfortunately that was not the case. So anyways, moving on here, folks. Getting into the section of my notes where I discussed the capital cities, but I've already covered those. And, yeah. They moved our capital cities to Ashran, so we'd all go to Ashran. Problem is, we all hate it. It's just a Zerg fest. It's not all that interesting. At least I dislike it. I'm not sure about you guys. Oh. Oh yeah, I do have some more stuff on PvP, actually, so... let's set a course in the general direction of Ashran for that one. So, one thing I am very tired of is just PvP in general being used as a piece of content, or a major piece of content in my MMO. Now, I know that the Alliance and the Horde are supposed to be fighting each other, but quite frankly, I think I would have been a lot happier if they had managed to, say, put Ashran in the previous expansion. Like, maybe put some sort of zone off of the Pandaren continent and made that into a major PvP contested zone where we each have fortresses and we're each trying to, like, murder each other. Hell, they could have done what they did with... these capital cities, put both of our capital cities on that island, and the Alliance and the Horde just have like massive fortresses on the island that double as our capitals, and we just go and murder each other. That would have made complete sense for the story in the last expansion. Because the last expansion was all about the war. Which is okay. I mean, it's not great, but like, I'm not really a fan of the war. The war between the Alliance and the Human, or the Alliance and the Horde always being thrown in there, because I feel like it's beating a dead horse at this point, but the last expansion was the time to do it. In this expansion, it makes very little sense. And it also kind of, it makes the Horde look incredibly stupid. Because the Horde is like, oh no, the Alliance is getting an artifact. They're going to use it against us. It's like, no, they're going to use it against the Iron Horde, you dumbasses. So the Alliance is too stupid to let the Horde help them look for the fucking thing, because they don't trust them. And the Horde is just, in general, is stupid and itching for a fight. So that's what I come to the conclusion there. I think that the Alliance is actually coming off as being a little less stupid there, but not by much really, because they didn't communicate with the Horde at all. So the Horde can only assume that they're getting ready to hurt them, even though they're on a savage world where everything is trying to kill them, and their best shot is actually working together. So, yeah, I'm tired of them ramming PvP down my throat when it makes 0 sense. And I think I just got put into fucking Ashran. Oh. So I'm just trying to skirt the zone here, trying to avoid fucking Ashran. I want to avoid this place like the plague, quite frankly. So, yeah. I'm tired of our two good guy factions going at it, and they are both good guy factions, with the exception of maybe Sylvanas. Both the Alliance and the Horde are both good factions. The Alliance's alignment is good, orderly, and the Horde is kind of chaotic good in terms of its alignment. So they're kind of loosely affiliated, but overall they're very, very, they're very good. They're not evil anymore. They're not the demon-worshipping orcs from before. And the Alliance knows this, and everybody knows this, yet they still come up with stupid reasons for them to fight. And frankly, I'm getting a little sick of it, especially in this expansion, because honestly, we've got our war. The war against the Iron Horde is our war. So, why do we need to fight the Alliance and the Horde? Like, we can throw in maybe 1 or 2 battlegrounds, and that's basically what Ashran is a giant battleground. But, I mean, they're talking about doing this crap again in Legion, where it's like, after the Broken Shore, the Alliance and the Horde are at each other's throats, because maybe Varian dies, spoilers, and possibly bigger spoilers here. You might want to tune out for this one. So yeah, if you haven't tuned out already, then too bad. I believe they're talking about actually having Varian die, and he comes back as a Forsaken. Which, I'm intrigued by this. I am. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's a little ridiculous to start another war with the Horde and Alliance when the Legion is coming to burn the world. It seems like the most retarded thing ever. But, I mean, on the steps of Icecrown, the Alliance and the Horde went to war before, which I thought was the pinnacle of stupidity then, and I think this is the pinnacle of stupidity now. So it just, I don't know, guys. It makes me think that our faction leaders are completely incompetent and don't know what the fuck they're doing. Just disappointing. So yeah. In this expansion, our war should, it is still the World of Warcraft, and our war is with the Iron Horde. And next time around, our war is going to be with the Burning Legion, and both of these are formidable foes. We don't really need to fight each other. So, yeah. Also on the subject of wars here, now this is something I wish they had done, and I think they've done to an extent, or they've tried to an extent before in World of Warcraft, but they've never really done it successfully. I think either... Yeah, they probably tried it in terms of PvP before. But anyway, what I wish they'd do is I wish they'd have a PvE zone, actually, where it's the Alliance and the Horde facing off against the Iron Horde, and maybe a max level zone where we actually have a tug-of-war sort of thing going on here, where we're fighting the Iron Horde to take control over this zone, and the more resistance we put up, the stronger the Iron Horde gets. They push back. We hopefully push back harder, and then they push back harder, and eventually it gets to the point of the Iron Horde actually overwhelms us and pushes us back, but at the same time we'll eventually get to a point where we overwhelm the Iron Horde and push them back. Then the rewards should be given accordingly, like the rewards should ramp up as things get further one way or another. Especially if you're able to, say, push the Iron Horde back when they're in the middle of, like, assaulting your bases in that zone. I think that would have been pretty cool. And what we could do with that zone is that the area that's not a central battleground could be like just a daily questing zone or whatever. Could be nice, relatively safe and peaceful. But when the Iron Horde comes in, then shit's on fire and everything's crazy. So I think that would be a nice idea. A nice little dynamic zone where we mess around with stuff. Where we have a eternal battle going on. I think that would be pretty cool. Similar to what Ultrak Valley was back in the day. I think that would be a decent idea. And then with that one, we could just go all out. Who the fuck cares about making it balanced? It would be a PvE thing. So we could have like bombing runs, tanks, raid bosses, whatever. They could just go fucking crazy with that. I would also like to see them maybe do something like that for PvP in the real world. Like, that would have been nice if that's what they made Ashran into, where Ashran is mostly safe behind the front lines, and we can do like daily quests and shit there, but once you get to the front lines, it's all about PvP, and the front lines move back and forth based on the various factions' progress. That's kind of what they were hinting that Ashran was going to be, sort of. Well, not really. They were hinting that it was going to be a combination of the Timeless Isle and a PvP zone, which is bullshit. It's just a fucking PvP zone, but yeah. So now then, I've been going on this for a while here, but I'm getting close to the end of my notes here, which is close to the end of my rant then. Let's move on to Legion. So, the main thing is that Warlords has kind of made me very skeptical of this, as you guys have probably heard by this massive, massive rant here, which I don't even know how long it's been. But, yeah, I'm very skeptical. I've been disappointed before by World of Warcraft, in Cataclysm, again in Mists of Pandaria, and also pretty majorly in this one as well. Because I was expecting a lot, quite frankly, and a lot more than we got, at least. So I found this one to be very disappointing. And now Legion's coming. Legion's going to save WoW. And it's going to be amazing. And it's going to make everything better again. Everything's going to be epic and new. And the Alliance and the Horde are going to be at each other's throat while the Burning Legion's invading the world. And the Burning Legion is coming, but we're only going to be fighting them on the Broken Isles because that's the formula of the thing. And also they've changed the Broken Isles. So, yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath for this being the second coming or whatever it is. I remain skeptical if this is going to be the greatest expansion WoW's ever seen. In fact, I'll go so far as to say it's going to be a great big disappointment, just like Warlords was. Because it's going to be an expansion that's not going to drag on long enough, or is not going to be long enough. It's going to drag on, just like Warlords of Draenor has, with very little new content. And, yeah. I've got an interesting quote in here. I've wanted the Legion expansion for quite a while here, but I'm afraid it's going to be like Warlords. And just to sum it up, the best metaphor I can come up for this, guys, is Warlords has been a chocolate-covered turd, quite frankly. Warlords was great once we initially got into it. Everything was sweet and juicy and tasty, and oh my god, there's so much cool stuff in here. And then we got rid of the coding of the initial experience, the leveling experience, and we got into the dailies and shit, and we're like, this is kind of shit. And honestly, guys, I'm afraid that we're gonna see the exact same fucking thing in the next expansion here. The next expansion is gonna be delicious and amazing once we first get into it, but then once we've gotten through it, gotten to endgame content, then it's going to be a bit shit again too. So that's what I'm concerned about. I'm sure that it's going to be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of good stuff in it, but I'm worried that it's going to suck, and I'll talk about that more later, and I'll I've got a lot more to say on the lore of stuff, specifically the Doomhammer and what they're doing with Thrall, but that's another rant for another time. I think this one's been way too long and way too unfocused, so thank you very much for listening. If you've been listening to the whole thing, if you've been listening to pieces of it, thank you. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Twitter if you like to know when more videos are coming out. Thank you very much for listening, guys, and I will see you next time.